What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the news involving Tesla, what's going on with the economic calendar, what you should be watching for as time progresses heading into tomorrow. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, so far, Tesla's doing a very good job at holding up because when you zoom out of the chart and look at this support that's been holding it since October, you guys can see that Tesla's continuing to ride this up, getting a bounce, another bounce. And then, as of very recently, if you zoom into this, Tesla held this support on the 4 hour right here. We got a bounce here, and then we started to test the trend line again, and then we actually closed above this, which is a good sign. The reason why Tesla got a red close is because the whole market came down. If you guys remember, on Friday, SPY was down 1.5%, the QQQ was down 1.5%, Apple was down 2.4%, Nvidia was down 3%. So the majority of stocks were in the red. Almost all of big tech was in the red except for like Meta, I believe, but the majority of stocks were in the red, right? So typically, Tesla should have been down like 3% on a day like this. Instead, it was only down 0.05% since we had some good news that came out. That's a good sign that Tesla has resilience. It's showing strength and it's holding support. So the question is, what's going to happen from this point on? Let's talk about some data and news. Then I'll break down the charts. So one thing worth mentioning is that the latest rating that came out from analysts comes from Bank of America. They said Tesla's a neutral rating, so they're in the middle with Tesla. The price price ratio dipped quite a bit because Tesla lost a lot of strength in the last couple of weeks. But as of what happened on Friday, it went up just a tiny bit because Tesla built a little bit more strength. It did not dump as hard as the market did. It actually held up for the most part. And that's why Tesla's looking a little bit better than before. On top of this, Mondays are historically green about 52.7% of the time for Tesla, which is a good sign for tomorrow. And we tend to see more volatility at 11 o'clock a.m., 1 p.m., and then also during like 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So not bad whatsoever. Finally, there's nothing else that's too crazy on the news, at least so far. I've been looking at this. I'm not seeing anything else too crazy. But I want to mention that there were a couple of headlines that came out. Right now, Tesla's Nevada semi plants are getting concrete foundations for the stamping area. That's a good piece of news. This is going to help them make more progress at expanding their current fleet for the Tesla semis, which is going to help build a lot more revenues. It's a good piece of news. There was also news about their supercharger network now opening access for Mercedes. So Mercedes Benz has joined the overall team, and they're going to be having access as soon as the month of February. There's been some talk about how Elon Musk and Tesla's team are trying to reignite the momentum for the Model Y by upgrading it with new updates. This has been going on for a while, so I wouldn't necessarily say that this is like something that they just decided last minute. But I just want to say that it's good. It's still a good piece of news. This will help incentivize more sales when you guys see pictures of the Model Y. The refresh has come out, but it's only available in China. I think other countries nearby. It's not available in the US or Europe. So just keep that in mind for the time being. As soon as March, they could be coming out, and that's a very very good piece of news. Here's some pictures of them, so you guys can see what the Tesla Model Y Juniper is looking like. It has a very very sleek design. I think it's very cool looking. It does resemble a Cybercab. You could say that, sure, but it looks very, very nice, very beautiful exterior. If anything, I think that looks very nice in terms of its rims and the new design. And it has cool features as well, but I'll talk more about those later on. The rear looks really nice as well. I think it's just, it looks incredible. It's going to help get a lot more sales as well. So cool stuff, if anything. But in my personal opinion, I think that although this is going to help their sales for the shorter term, will this help the share price? To some extent, it did help. I'm hoping it does still affect us going into tomorrow. So this is a good piece of news that has come out. But there are other pieces of news that are going to be affecting the markets and Tesla, and that is this right here. So earnings season is about to kick off. On Monday, it starts off very quiet, which is Comtech and a few others. Tuesday is going to be very quiet as well. But then once we get to Wednesday, don't forget, before market open, we have JP Morgan Chase, Citi, BlackRock, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs all announcing earnings. So expect some volatility because of that. And then on Thursday, we also have TSMC, United Health, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, and a few more. Look for volatility on Thursday thanks to that. Going into the economic calendar, okay? On Friday, we got some data that still caused the market to dip, despite the fact that jobs numbers were not too bad. Now it's going to be Monday. So Monday, January 13th, the next catalyst come out at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have some bill auctions, might cause a little bit of volatility, but that's pretty much it. Nothing else is too crazy for tomorrow. However, on Tuesday, we have PPI data coming out. That's going to be wholesale inflation. And then for Wednesday, we have CPI data. That's going to be a big catalyst. So I'd say starting on Wednesday and Thursday, the market's going to go bananas. It's going to be pretty crazy with CPI and big earnings coming out. So get ready for some high volatility. Besides that, the market's at fear. We're not at extreme fear yet, which opens the door for a little bit more downside that could be coming. But just keep in mind, once we're in the extremes, we do tend to see the market bottom soon. That's typically what happens, and we're hoping to see if that ends up being the case or not. Momentum is also very close to our 125 daily moving average. For the entire of 2024, we were above this, and every time we came close to this, we did bounce. So we'll see if we're near support to bounce very soon. The put to call option ratio went up to fear. Typically, when it goes up a little bit to fear, we do see the market kind of like bounce a little bit just to hurt those shorts just temporarily. But it does not necessarily free the market from more downside, at least for the more medium term. I'll talk about that in just a second. The VIX is also pushing. We watch to see how well it breaks out as we're approaching some tough resistance. So, with that being said, guys, that's enough about all of this data. What is going to be affecting Tesla is the news. And then for tomorrow specifically, there's nothing else that's too crazy to like I would say like Wednesday when we have like big bank earnings and CPIs, just keep that in mind. So we'll see what happens with the news coming out for Tesla, but just notice some trends on this. So we love to push in the mornings. I'm going to give you a lot of examples of that. For example, if we go back since December, in the mornings we love to push. We love to push and reject over and over again. Look at this period right here. As we approached the end of December, we pushed, then rejected as the day went on. We gapped up and pushed as soon as we started the year, then we rejected. We got this nice rally for a couple of days. We pushed and rejected. We pushed here, rejected. We've been trading sideways for the last couple of days. So we kind of like pushed, rejected, consolidated, pushed, rejected, consolidated. So to me, it looks like Tesla's getting tighter, but I think that there's going to be some attempts for it to try to rebound because of the broader markets and because of this trend line of support right here. We're holding this trend line right here. I said that before, so that's a good sign for Tesla. This trend line is holding. There's a good chance it's going to try to bounce thanks to that. Also, when you look at the daily charts on Tesla, the daily is flat right now. We actually have a green bar in the daily because we dumped a bit, then we just got bought back up, which typically signals that there might be a little bit more upside for our 20 EMA as a target. And then the weekly was showing weakness, but we're still holding the trend line of support. We'll have to see if we get a bounce from there or not. So here's my view of Tesla. Here's how I think this is going to pan out. What's going to likely happen is this. As we typically do, we like to push in the mornings. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tesla make a move like this, where we try to push back up towards our 399 to 400 area of resistance. That's most likely going to happen tomorrow. And that's where the 20 EMA happens to be. And then after that, we'll see if we go a little bit higher or not. If not, it could be between 402 and 405, which is where we form our top. Then we could be returning to where this trend line happens to be and just continue to ride this for some time. CPI is going to be the next factor by Wednesday that either pushes Tesla back up or it causes one more rejection. If we get that rejection and we lose this trend line, there's going to be our 200 EMA as a target. I would love to see Tesla kind of like dip one more time before it tries to get a big bounce as we head into like the end of the month. Just know that Mr. Donald Trump's inauguration is going to be starting in just a little bit over a week. So that's going to cause a lot of volatility. I think that could also be pretty big for Tesla. And then we also have big tech earnings that could affect Tesla. Tesla has earnings at the end of the month. That's going to be the next big catalyst for them. If Elon Musk and the team hype AI, that could help the share price bounce. So we'll see about that. But for now, here's my view. Going into tomorrow, we're not going to worry too much about the bigger swings. We're going to be looking for a small attempt to push into the low 400s, and then we might just slowly ride this trend line up because Tesla doesn't have as much volume as usual, which is why it's not going to be making like massive moves just yet. It's just going to be a small, tight move into the low 400s, which is what I'm going to be looking for going into tomorrow. Could Tesla get another rug pull? Yes, there could be another dip coming because of CPI or other factors, but then I think there will ultimately be a bottom towards the end of January, and hopefully after earnings / Trump's inauguration, we get a balance. We'll see about that. I'm a little bit more positive with those things coming out. For SPY, similar setup. We have a left shoulder here. We have a head. Then we have a right shoulder. That is technically bearish, but just know this. There tends to be strong support at that 577 to 580 area. We might attempt to push for the very low 580s. So I'm going to be looking for an attempt to rebound for 585 as soon as tomorrow to 583 in that range. And then I think that what's going to ultimately happen is we may end up getting a rejection. There could be one more move down, maybe after CPI or something, and that could lead to a move all the way down towards the 570s. So if that ends up being the case, we'll be watching for a move just like this. But ultimately, I think the SPY is going to base and form its bottom, and that could lead to a big rebound after that. So we'll be looking to see if we get a rebound like this, especially as we approach February. So a move just like this is what I'm going to be looking for. A temporary bounce to a rejection, followed by a bigger bounce later on as time goes on. So just keep that in mind, guys. That's what I'm anticipating for now. All right, so look for a rebound tomorrow. Excuse me, tomorrow for 583 to 585 on SPY. If we lose 577, we turn more bearish. And if we break 582, we're looking for that push. And then we could reject and get one more drop. I think the market may be forming its bottom soon. And I think that once the market bottoms, there's going to be a big rally that's starting as we approach the month of February. I do lean a bit more in that direction. Yes, it depends on earnings and such, but that's what I'm looking for from a technical standpoint. For others out there, we have ES. We have a left shoulder here. We have a head to the right shoulder. There's a head and shoulders, which is leaning to a little bit more downside as we're technically on a downtrend. But what I essentially see happening is there's a base that loves to form around here. So this could lead to a small bounce in a way where we try to rebound. But then as time goes on, I wouldn't be surprised if that leads to a bit of a dip or so. So something like a dip like this could be forming to form our ultimate bottom. Once we form our bottom, this imbalance will cause a bounce, and we'll be trying to push back into the 5900s just like this. So I'm looking for a move like this, a little rebound, and another move down as we hit our ultimate bottom very soon, and that could lead to a big move in the opposite direction. For others out there, we also happen to have Nvda. Nvidia is in a very, very interesting trend right now. I think that we have this resistance around this 140 area, and we have support at 135. I wouldn't be surprised if we try to rebound for 138 to 140 in this range. Then we could be looking for a rejection back down towards 132. We'll see if we get a bounce back up later on as we approach the month of February. That's going to depend on earnings and factors like that. But look for a rebound tomorrow for 138 to 140, which is where this resistance is. And then we might get a rejection again to retest and grab liquidity in the low 130s. I'm hoping we try to base right over here. It would be very nice if this is the bottom and we just try to base and get a rebound like this. But we'll see just to be safe. So look for an attempt to get back up to about 138 to 140 tomorrow, which could be followed by a rejection for the shorter term projections. For others out there, we have Nvidia. Nvidia is technically on a downtrend, making lower highs and lower lows. However, just know this: I wouldn't be surprised if we see. Did I say Nvidia? Sorry, I think I meant NQ. For NQ, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a move like this where we attempt to rebound for 21,200, and that could lead to a big rejection back down to about 20,800, just like this. That's where this low is right over here, this support, and that's where we want to see a big break from this resistance. They start pushing through this resistance and start pushing higher. That's the most likely case I'll be looking out for just to be safe. For the QQQ, the same setup essentially. We are looking weaker on the daily in these other time frames. We're watching to see if we can form a base here. We do love to base around 507. So I'm going to be looking to see if we could get a rebound back up to about that 510 to 512 area, just like this. And if we get a rejection, we could continue to fall back down to the low 500s. Ultimately, I'll be looking for a base around here as long as we make a higher low compared to this one. There could be a breakout coming like this to squeeze shorts. I believe it's going to be coming soon, so keep that in mind. That's what I'm going to be looking out for. For others out there, we have, excuse me, Aapl. Apple's technically on a downtrend. Might be looking for a rebound attempt to get back up to 135 to 138. I'm sorry, 238 to about 240. Sorry about that, guys. But the problem is we're technically on a very strong downtrend, and that's what's been slowing this down for quite some time. So we'll be watching to see if we make a move like this back up towards this resistance around that 240 area, which is where we could just be looking for one more rejection. And ultimately, I think this will bottom soon before we see an attempts to rebound towards the end of the year. That's going to depend on its earnings, but we'll have to give this some time. For others out there, I'm going to go over the rest of these and be a little bit more quick. For Netflix, just know that just like the broader markets, it's been dumping quite a bit. But I just want to say that despite the fact that that's been going on, I'm not really too worried or too scared because I think that we're approaching a very, very key level. Netflix looks a bit more bearish to me, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do something like this where we rebound a little bit towards just under 850 and we continue to fall. We might be trying to base right here at this 810 to 820 area right over here. That's where it may try to base before it tries to see some kind of bounce towards the end of the month. I'll be looking for a move just like that. For others out there, we have Supermicro and MSTR. MSTR is technically on a downtrend. It's very tight right now. It's been like that for the last couple of days. So I anticipate it might be retesting about 335 or so and then just continue to consolidate. I just see a lot of consolidation on this chart. There's not really much of a breakout yet. Unless we break 340 to turn bullish or we lose 310 to turn bearish, we're just going to consolidate into 320s. For Celsius, we're technically a little bit more bearish. We have to see if we can try to hold above our key levels. So I'll be watching that very, very closely. I think that there's a good chance that this is a little bit more bearish, might rebound like this before it continues to fall back down. And we'll see if we get a bounce off 25 to make a move right back up. But look for a move lower. I think it ultimately gets down to the 25s. For Supermicro, we look a little flat right now. We're just trading sideways. Might try to rebound for essentially 33 to 34 in that range. Might be a small rebound before it consolidates, but there's not much going on with the charts until we see it break either 35 or lose 30. Otherwise, I just see some consolidation. For Palantir, we're on a bit of a downtrend here. We're looking to see if we could hold 66.5 as our main support. If we hold this, we're looking for a rebound for an attempt to get back up towards the 70 area. If we reject it, then we'll be looking to see if we get a bounce just like that. So I think as long as we hold 66.5, we could be looking for a small rebound for 70, and we'll see if we could try to break past that or not. We have a key support at the 200 EMA. Rivian looks a bit more bearish to me because we're continuing to fall. I think that we have this big imbalance down here, which could be leading to a move back down towards 13.3 and eventually the 13 flat area. So I do see a little bit more downside coming here, which could be leading us to this imbalance over here. We'll have to see if we get a bounce off of this, but look for some downside as a strong possibility. For SoFi is technically on a bit of a downturn, making lower highs and lower lows. We have 14.2 as our resistance, and we have the support to watch for at 13.5. I think we could be on our way back down towards 13.5 before it attempts a rebound. But look for a little bit more downside. I think we're technically on a strong downtrend. We're trying to base at the support, so it might rebound a bit before it continues to fall into the 13s. But it's going to be basing very soon, and it's going to be a big pivot that's coming in terms of its trend. The Russell's looking a bit more bearish. Same thing, it might be retesting liquidity around that 218 area. But like I said before, I wouldn't be surprised if we do something like this where we rebound just like this, and then we reject back down towards 214. That could be where it tries to base before an eventual bounce comes. I think small caps will bounce soon, but we're going to be looking for a little bit more downside to start things off. AMD is showing weakness. Unfortunately, it's continuing to make lower highs after this big rejection. There's a very strong support around 110, by the way. So we could attempt this rebound and then eventually dump for this like 110 area before it tries to bounce. I'll be watching that very, very closely. ARM is also showing some weakness. It's technically on a downtrend. We're watching to see if it can hold our 200 EMA as the main support, so watch that very closely as well. So keep that in mind. We might be on our way back down to 138 to 137. We'll see if we bounce. Look for some downside there. For Coinbase, we're flat right now. It might try to rebound for 264 to 270. I think 264 could be tested. We'll see if we get a rejection or not. But for now, we're doing a good job. So look for 264 to be tested tomorrow for a small bounce. Amazon might retest 220, then reject because we haven't tested our 200 EMA yet, and we do like to base close to about 214 to 216. So I think we could be doing something like this on Amazon where we kind of push tomorrow for like 220 to 222. Then we reject back down for like 214 to 216 in this range, and then we could be looking for a bounce after that. So watch for that very closely. Might be a rebound on Meta as well. Might try to retest 620 or so, and then it could reject again. But overall, it's forming a very nice double bottom accumulation. So if it does push to about 620, it could be dipping back down to 608 and just continue to consolidate. It's still doing quite fine, and I think it could bounce later after it trades sideways between 600 and 620 for some time. For Microsoft, look for a retest of 422 to 423.8. We'll bounce here, and we'll see if you reject again, so keep that in mind. For Google, we're on a bit of a downtrend. We have to see if we can get back above 193.7 and 195. We might be dipping closer to about 192, and we'll see if we bounce or not. We actually have like a double top here. So I think we could be dipping to about that 192 area or below, and we'll see if we bounce. So just keep that in mind. For GameStop, we're technically forming a bearish divergence. We could be dipping to about 31.67 or below, and we'll see if we bounce or not. So look for a little bit more downside there. For AMC, we're on a bit of a downtrend here. We have to see if we can try to get back above 3.9. Otherwise, we could be continuing to fall. I think it might retest 3.9. We'll see what kind of reaction we get. DJT may be pushing for 36.5 for a small push, but it's not going to do much until we get Trump's inauguration, most likely. The VIX is on a big breakout. We do have these gaps to fill, so it might come down a bit as the market rebounds just to start things off. Then it could bounce later on because the market hasn't formed its bottom yet. So I think that the market may bounce and dump because of how this is looking. The 10-year is going to be impacted by inflationary data, so we're waiting to see if this causes inflation Inflation is going to be affecting the 10-year, not to mention the dollar. So I'll see what that leads to. Until then, though, I thank you all so much for listening. So please have a good rest of your day. Tesla's holding support. As long as there's no bad news tomorrow, we should slowly push into the 400s. 400, then 402 should be washed. And if those break, we're looking for 405 and eventually 408. But even if we do push a bit, that does not mean Tesla's free from the downside. Might just be a small move up, and we'll see what happens with CPI and other factors that are going to be affecting us. With that being said, look for a small rebound in Tesla, and we'll see what happens as time goes on. I thank you all so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another update. Until then, have a good rest of your day. Enjoy some football. Enjoy what life has to offer for the rest of your Sunday, and I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, and peace out.